Eddie Muller with you once again at Bar 355 in Oakland, where I'm serving another fillip of film noir in this week's edition of Noir Alley. Today's picture is The Big Steal, made at RKO in 1949. Now, it's typically described as a caper, but it's really a chase film, as 300 grand goes missing from an army payroll in Mexico, and a gaggle of cops and crooks set off on a wild goose chase to retrieve it. Now, this is not a doom-laden heist picture like The Killers or Crisscross, but more of a rambunctious farce, bouncing briskly along on the chemistry shared by its co-stars, Robert Mitchum and Jane Greer. The pair had starred 2 years earlier in Out of the Past, arguably the definitive film noir, which should have catapulted them both to major stardom. But it only happened for one of them. Greer's career was derailed in 1948 when she dared declare personal independence from RKO's boss, Howard Hughes. She was his one-time paramour, to use an outdated but entirely accurate expression. She was still under contract to RKO, but once she'd married businessman Edward Lasker, Hughes jealously vowed she'd never work again at the studio. So, how'd she end up in this picture? Well, that is a complicated story. You got a minute? This script was originally intended as a vehicle for George Raft, who'd been nursing his flagging career along with a series of crime pictures at RKO, things like Nocturne and Race Street, average earners that didn't register as winners or losers on the company's ledgers. The studio planned to have Elizabeth Scott co-star with Raft, but on September 1st, 1948, Robert Mitchum was arrested for possession of narcotics, aka smoking weed in the Hollywood Hills with some friends. At his arraignment, Mitchum listed his profession as former actor. But Howard Hughes sensed a windfall in the scandal. He sidelined Raft, gave Mitchum the part, and rushed The Big Steal into production to capitalize on the actor's extracurricular notoriety. Director Don Siegel was pressured to fast-track production so they could get the bulk of the picture in the can before the leading man was in the can. Then, only weeks before cast and crew were to go to Mexico to shoot most of the picture, Liz Scott backed out. Her movie daddy, producer Hal Wallace, didn't want to risk his protege being tainted through fraternization with a drug addict. That's when Jane Greer came to the rescue, offering to step into Liz Scott's high heels and little bolero jackets so she could enjoy a reunion with her beloved out-of-the-past co-star. And this put Hughes in a quandary. Cash in on Mitchum's percolating bad boy persona, or continue his petty embargo of Greer's professional life? The promise of profits won out, and Jane went back to work. But complicating matters was a little secret she was keeping. Jane was pregnant, which she feared would become obvious once the crew had to wait for Mitchum to serve out his 60-day jail sentence. Now, 60 days might not seem like much, but Hughes had gambled on being able to finish shooting before Mitchum was locked up. It didn't work out that way. In Mexico, the cast and crew had to work around the missing leading man, shooting whatever they could while waiting for his arrival. Jane Greer had two distinct memories of making this movie. Co-star William Bendix eating handfuls of her prescribed morning sickness pills after she'd fibbed that she was taking them to prevent dysentery, which tourists to Mexico often got from drinking the water. The other was observing how the locals constantly slipped joints into Mitchum's pockets and trouser cuffs as he hung around between takes on the streets of Tehuacan and Mexico City. The film's short running time, 71 minutes, is partially due to Siegel throwing out script pages just to get the damn thing done on time. This is precisely how a director proved his mettle in the studio system, not just bringing in a chaotic production on time and under budget, but creating a finished film that earned good reviews and made bank at the box office. After salvaging this one, Don Siegel was on his way. Featuring Patrick Knowles, William Bendix, and Ramon Navarro, Here is a film that essentially is one long chase sequence, The Big Steal.